Good morning, Don here. Welcome to Podiatry Practice Mastery, where we're helping you bring your practice to the $1 million mark and beyond. I had a question from a doctor that's out. He sent me a message. He says, "Hey Don, I like all your stuff on growing your practice and getting online reviews." He said, but I'm in a group practice, like an orthopedic group practice, and I'm a little bit limited in what I can do. So I want to address today kind of some tips for you if you are in an orthopedic practice and you're a podiatrist, or even if you're in like a podiatry practice and you're like one of the doctors that maybe isn't a partner yet. Maybe you're an associate. So I think one of the challenges for us when we're starting out is we just rely on the system to feed us. So if you're in an orthopedic practice, you would depend on the other orthopedics or other referring doctors to refer to you. If you're in a podiatry practice, you're tending to depend on the practice name to get patients. So if I could give you a couple of tips of advice, try to develop demand for yourself. And I think there's a struggle there a little bit because a lot of these groups that are purchased up by these big investors, they want everyone to be like a no-name. They don't want anyone to have a name for themselves. All they want them to do is to be like a cog in their system, and they have to see so many patients. But there are ways that you can do that. So one way is you could get your own Google business listing on Google. So on Google Maps, you can put your own name on there. So we have the name of our practices. So whether it be your orthopedic practice, but you can have your own personal page. And then when patients come in, you can have them ask them to do a review there. Now, you might not be able to do something technical like swell or something else like that. But if you are, I'm joking here, a small fry, and you can't do any of that, what you could do is you could go to Fiverr and have them make you a little business card size thing saying, "Hey, if you had a good experience, could you please give me a review?" And even if you just look up your name, a lot of times there are like WebMD review sites. There is the Google, which is the Google Maps, which is the most important. There's Yelp. And I even know some people, what they do is on that QR code they put on their business card, it could lead them to, like, let's say a Linktree. If you go to linktree.com, you could put all those links right there, and they can kind of choose which one they want to do. If you're only going to kind of focus on one, I would just focus on the Google listing. So that's one thing you can do to kind of build your reputation. Another thing that you could do is you could ask the doctors, which they'll probably let you, if there is a person that does like community outreach, to make a name for yourself, meaning going and to visit other doctors in the community, going to do lectures, have them set up lectures for you. I find one of the challenging things isn't so much doing the lecture, but it's setting up all the logistics behind a lecture or a lunch and learn with a primary care group. So these things will help you kind of set yourself apart in that group and show that you're proactive. I know you might have to do so many, like, I have to treat so many hours or so many patients or things like that. A lot of these are just on the churn system, meaning you just kind of see volume. And so it can be a little bit of a challenge, but I would really try to recommend going out there and trying to make a name for yourself, even within the practice. Because I think even within, if you look at any practice that you're in, a lot of times the owning doctors or the more senior doctors, they have more of a reputation. And that only comes by first doing good work as a podiatrist, but also kind of getting out and known in the community. So this is just a word for you if you work for an orthopedic practice, or if you work in a podiatry practice and you're not an owner but you're an associate listening to this might be a lot of people here. These are just ways that you can kind of develop more of a demand for yourself. Okay, I'm going to go over, this is a recording from a Wednesday, and the first patient was a 49-year-old female. She had number 3 out of 6 for her neuroma. Now, as I mentioned before, I was a little skeptical about doing neuromas with Shockwave. Only because you can't go as intense because it's nerve fiber. So this I was at 0.05 for the focus Shockwave. I did focus only on the dorsal aspect of the foot, and it went kind of in between the intermetatarsal spaces. And she, from the first visit, she was totally pain-free, and she has continued that way. So I asked her to do a video, so for my YouTube shorts. I'm going to start telling you which patients I do videos on, because I think that's also important. As we were talking for young doctors or parts of groups, if you don't have a presence on, for example, YouTube or TikTok or something like that, you can pick up one of those and ask if they'll allow you to do that. A lot of times they're looking for people that would be interested in making short form video for the office. And if you are the one that is offering to do that or becoming an expert about that, that might be good for you as well. Next patient was a 37-year-old man. He was here for like a third opinion. And he had a fibular sesamoid on the left foot that was bipartite, or it was fractured. He showed me an x-ray from a year ago, and it looked more like a bipartite that had fractured through, and now it's on its way to getting better. So he got new x-rays. I recommended, since it's already doing okay, it's been a long time, I said he might be okay without anything, but the next steps would either be an orthotic to offload that area, or doing Shockwave to help that area to heal if the pain comes. I've spent a lot of time with him, so he was like a level 4 visit. It's kind of a complex patient, reviewing MRIs and things like that. Next patient was a 72-year-old female. What she had is detached nails, so the nails were only attached the proximal third of the nail, and she had previously had some possible fungus in there. I think the nail was mostly injured. I don't think it was fungal, and she wanted to help them to get to reattach. So what I did is I did bilateral Anifix on them. So I did Anifix at the base. If you don't know what Anifix is, it's like a little resin you put on there. It takes literally like 3 minutes, and we charge $125 for the first nail and $75 for the second nail, and they come back when it falls off. I guarantee it for 3 months. So I did that on both of those nails, and we'll see how they kind of grow out, if they grow out normal. Next was a 74-year-old female. She had right toe pain. I was mostly talking about shoe recommendations and callus care, and I did an x-ray for her. So one thing I want to tell you about, in the past, I always come up with good ideas during the day, but I never have time to execute on them. So I don't know if you have that struggle as well. Like, you have all these ideas and I write them down and I never get to them. I found what's given me a little bit of freedom these days is when I have, so for example, when I look at shoes, I'm always opening up the web browser to show them Topo, show them Ultras, and then show them Anya's reviews. And I always think, well, what would be better than that? And what would be better than that is if I had like a blog post or a web page that had all that on there, so I could just show them one web page or even like a printout. But a web page is a little bit better because it's in color. So instead of just like thinking about it and planning for me to do it, sometimes I find that those things never get done. These are like my endless lists that never get done. I have virtual assistants now that help me. So I sent a message to one of them that does the blog post. And I told them exactly what they wanted and what the expectation was for that. So I'm just kind of helping you out because this is something I struggle with. I have ideas throughout the day, but I'm not able to execute on them for lack of time. And I put them on a list, and these lists just get super long and they never get done. So what I try to do now is I think of who, not how, meaning who can do this for me, not how can I do this. And I do this for multiple areas. I'm trying to do it for multiple areas of my life, but it just works better. If you want, there's a good book called Who, Not How that you might like that if you're wanting to do that more. So next patient was a 52-year-old. This is number 2 out of 6 for Achilles tendonitis. Still having pain. I just kind of told them to be patient. It'll come around. Next patient was a 50-year-old female. She's a type 2 diabetic, and she has a left hallux ulcer. So what I did for this is I did a cam boot. And just a reminder, you can't do cam boots for ulcers, so I did a cam boot for like the foot pain or for the biomechanical issue that she had. I debrided the ulcer. She had one callus, debrided that, and I put them in a cam boot with a peg assist, which is that offloading little peg system that can go in the shoe. Okay, and I'm going to see them back in 2 weeks. If it's not getting better, I might refer them out to the wound center, but I think this one, just with offloading, it'll be okay. Next was a 52-year-old man. He had right Achilles. It's feeling better, and then he did basically night splint, foam rolling, morning stretch, and I think his was due mostly to equinus, so he's doing better. And then on the left, he had a hallux, and he had a issue with the nail was kind of detached, similarly to the other one. So I did an Anifix on that one as well, and I'm going to see him back as needed when that Anifix falls off. The next patient was a 62-year-old. She had a follow-up for left nail fungus. Now, she had really bad nail fungus, like one of the worst I've seen. And she had been on terbinafine many times, and it didn't work. And I switched her to diflucan. So she is finished her first 6 months. I have to put her on another 6 months, about halfway grown out. Just a remarkable change. So kind of explaining how I do YouTube shorts when I'm trying to show these things. I like to do short videos. Usually now YouTube, you can do it, it's under 3 minutes. And I've told you before, but I use an app called Submagic, Submagic. And what I do is on my phone, I just click the record button and I record the picture. So I pull up my EMR, pull up the before pictures. There's 2 pictures I used, and I showed them. Then I showed them the actual pictures, and then I was explaining about how Lamisil doesn't work for everyone, diflucan works, and then how Vicks Vapor Rub isn't going to work for nails like these, because that's what everyone comments on the videos. And then it goes automatically to Submagic, and then I have a virtual assistant that then puts in the subtitles and uploads it to YouTube. And then from YouTube it goes to all the other socials kind of automatically. If you're interested in knowing how I do that, you can just shoot me an email. I'll explain it in a podcast later on. That might be a little bit more in depth if you're interested. Next patient was a 76-year-old female for left posterior tibial tendon dysfunction. She had this bilaterally, worse on the left side. She already has orthotics, and I think she needs an AFO. Now, because of her Blue Cross Blue Shield, I can't do it, so I had to send her to Hanger for the AFOs. Next was a 65-year-old man for a left second medhead pain, kind of metatarsalgia. I did number 2 out of 6 for Shockwave. So that was the morning. And I think that AFO patient, I think she got orthotics as well, so I scanned her for orthotics. So she had orthotics and AFOs. Next was a 38-year-old female for plantar fasciitis number 4 out of 6, starting to get a little bit better with the Shockwave. Next patient was a 44-year-old female for right Achilles. She's following up on the right Achilles, feeling better, once again with the night splint foam rolling. Was also here to review a nail sample, and so she got the Lamisil in my whole kit, which is the biotin shoe spray and UV light. Next was a 36-year-old man for a left wart. I did Cantharidin on that one. The next patient was a 33-year-old female for an ingrown toenail. I did a matrix on the left, and then I did. Actually, she had previously a botched, not a botched one, but you know how it's a little bit narrower and the nail looks funny after a matrixectomy. And she was a young female, and so she had like 3/4 of the width of the nail that was normal and a quarter that wasn't, kind of ingrown issue and kind of detached. So for her, I talked about doing Anifix to try to get the nail to grow out normal and attached again. So she did that today, and then I told her if that doesn't work, then we'll just see you for Cariflex, a couple times a year. So she's going to come back as needed once that Anifix is done. Next is a 71-year-old female for her orthotic was painful. So I heated it up with my heat gun, and I dropped down the arch on the left side. She is a patient that has talonavicular joint arthritis. So I reviewed that on her x-ray again, gave her ultrasound-guided cortisone injection, and talked to her about the options of either fusing that joint or doing Shockwave to help with the bone marrow edema. So she's going to kind of let me know what she wants. Next was a 67-year-old man that did Q10s in number 4. Now he is noticing a little bit of improvement. I think I have the number 5 already set up. I don't do these forever, though. Like, he says he's getting improvement. That's why I'm continuing on. If he wasn't getting any improvement, I would not be doing that, continuing on. Next was a 48-year-old man. He had some pain to the proximal plantar arch region, and I had already placed him 4 weeks in a cam boot. I'm sorry. He had the plantar phalanx, so like the second med head area. And I tried to boot him because his MRI showed a little bit of an injury to that second proximal phalanx base, kind of a little avulsion type of a fracture in there that wasn't getting better. So I recommended Shockwave for him. I wanted to do it that day, but I just had too many other Shockwaves scheduled, so he scheduled those 6 Shockwaves for me. In this one, specifically second med head, or like that sulcus area, I find focused Shockwave works better than Softwave, only because the Softwave is a bigger head. So I think for some of these nooks and crannies that we do, I think the focused Storz machine works a little bit better, so that's what he's going to have. Next was an 8-year-old little girl that I did cathered in, and I did my cool magic trick. If you want to know, all my kids, actually most of my adults these days, are getting magic tricks as well. If you like magic, there's a really good app for your phone called Card Now, and you just look it up, and it's a way you can click your phone and it prints out a business card, and then you hide that card behind your phone, and you like produce a business card. So if you're interested in magic, you might enjoy that little magic trick. Next is a 57-year-old female, number 6 out of 6 for Achilles tendonitis. She is feeling much better. This is the one that had the Achilles repair, and she was like in a cam boot for like 18 months by her orthopedist, and hoping that it would get better, and it never did with that in PT. But Shockwave really, really helped her, so she's feeling much better. I'm going to see her back in 6 weeks, and that was an office visit because that's the last Shockwave. Next was a 36-year-old female for a bunion and calluses. I trimmed a callus, talked to her about bunions, just a quick office visit, no follow-up, just shoe recommendations. And then a 56-year-old female for a left fourth toe. This is one, she is like a woman that hasn't been able to wear closed shoes for years because she had a non-union fracture of a fourth digit. Like the darn thing just didn't heal, and it was really swollen, and she could not tolerate closed-toed shoes. After number 4 Shockwave, she is already able to get back into shoes. The swelling is coming down. The skin is less indurated over the fracture site, and she is really pleased. So she has a couple. Actually, it's number 5. She has another one left. And then the last patient of the day was a patient. I was doing notes, and they asked me, like, hey, the patient's running a little late, do you mind if I put him in? And I said, yeah, and I was almost ready to leave. I forgot this patient was here, but she had a couple of issues going on. She was a diabetic. She had a Uniboot on the left lower extremity from a vein doctor, and it was the vein doctor actually that sent her over. She had a right second toenail avulsion, a left hallux nail avulsion, and I'm going to see her periodically for like nail care. She's kind of high risk due to her diabetes and things like that. Okay, so that was the day. I hope you guys found this beneficial. Once again, if you guys want me to do a deep dive, I may do that another day, and like how I can produce content pretty seamlessly with the actual patients that I see. This is kind of a fun thing for me because it doesn't take any extra time, and it kind of spices up things a little bit, and I tend to find patients think it's a little bit cool because they want to look for their own video when it shows up in your feed, so they're going to kind of follow your feed. So if you want me to go a little bit deeper dive in that, let me know. Another time, shoot me an email, Don at podiatrypracticemastery.com. And as I mentioned, I always get these good questions from people, other doctors, or even good things that you're working in your practice that maybe I'm not doing. I'd love to share that with everyone here listening. Okay, talk to you tomorrow.